Faith is not about being able to see the whole staircase. It's about trusting the next step is there.
That kind of trust rarely comes easy, especially when life turns uncertain, when the next step is hidden in fog, and when your heart aches for a clear sign. But that's exactly where real faith grows, in the quiet spaces between what we know and what we hope for. We don't walk by knowing, we walk by trusting. Not because the way forward is visible, but because the one who calls us forward is good. So today, let's walk into that mystery with open hearts. Let's start where faith actually begins, not in sight, but in motion. Faith is not sight, it's trust in motion. It's strange how much we crave control, yet how rarely we're given it. Maybe you felt that tension recently, standing in a moment where nothing ahead of you is clear. Plans have shifted. Doors you prayed for didn't open, and the clarity you hoped would come with time hasn't arrived. That feeling? That's not failure. That's the threshold of faith. What makes faith powerful isn't certainty, it's obedience without it. The courage to move forward without a map, not because you understand everything, but because you've decided to trust the one who does. Scripture says it beautifully. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. That verse doesn't say get more insight. It says lean away from your own understanding. Why? Because understanding is limited, but God's wisdom is not. It's in those moments when you want the plan most that God invites you to trust Him more. And that trust doesn't have to be dramatic or loud. It can look like waking up and choosing hope instead of despair. It can look like doing the next right thing when you're unsure how it all fits together. It can even look like resting, letting go of striving and choosing to believe that what's meant for you will not pass you by. Sometimes we think faith is this intense burst of energy, mountain moving and loud, but often it's just one small yes at a time. It's showing up for the day even when you're tired. It's offering kindness even when you feel overlooked. It's praying when you don't feel anything. Go in confidence, as Jenny Allen once wrote, not because you believe in yourself, but because you believe in who walks with you. There's something liberating about that truth. You don't have to manufacture motivation every day. You're not responsible for seeing the whole path. You're just called to follow the one who knows it. And when that feels too simple, remember, God never asked you to carry the whole journey, just today's step. That's why faith is trust in motion, not motion for the sake of achievement, but motion because your heart believes that God is still good, even here, especially here. Some days you'll feel like you're barely moving at all. Maybe all you can do is whisper a prayer through tears or sit still and breathe in His name. That's still faith. That's still a movement toward God. And when your doubts speak louder than your hope, remember this. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is not give up. Those aren't just poetic words. That's a promise for the weary, that even your waiting counts, that even your holding on matters, that even silence is sacred when you stay with Him in it. Think about it this way. Faith is not you climbing your way to God. Faith is opening the door when He knocks, and He knocks often in the places where sight fails. If you're in a season where nothing feels secure, don't assume you're in the wrong place. You might be exactly where growth happens. You might be in the space where God isn't asking you to have answers, just to stay open. The thing about trusting God is that it changes the way we walk, not just on Sunday mornings, but on the quiet Thursdays, in traffic jams, during messy conversations, and in tear-stained prayers. When you trust God deeply, Even setbacks start to look different. They're no longer signs of defeat. They're training ground for greater endurance. They're where character forms. And you know what else? Faith teaches you to look back with different eyes. You'll eventually see that the times you thought you were wandering were actually the times you were being led, slowly, gently, but led all the same. That's what makes trust holy. It breaks you open. It makes you softer, not harder. And that softness, that tenderness is exactly what God can use, because your heart made available to Him is more powerful than your plans. If this moment feels like too much, let me tell you something. You're not too late. You're not too far behind. You haven't missed your calling. You're still in it. You're still being shaped. And even if today just feels like surviving, that's still part of the walk. Let this truth sink into the corners of your soul. You're not walking alone. The Spirit of God is closer than your breath. His presence isn't something you have to earn. It's something you carry, and that means you are never alone in your doubt, your delay, or your daily tasks. Maybe that's why Scripture reminds us not to grow weary in doing good. Not because the good will be noticed or rewarded right away, but because the walk itself is the reward. Every step in trust, every act of obedience, every moment of surrender, it all matters. You can build a life of deep purpose, not by rushing toward clarity, but by walking humbly through the unknown. That's what God honors. That's what He multiplies. So what does this mean practically? It means you can start your day with a question. God, what's one next right thing I can do today? Not everything, just one thing. And then do that thing with love, with faith, and with trust that it's enough for now. Because here's the miracle. When you move in faith, even without full understanding, heaven moves with you. The invisible becomes tangible. The impossible starts to breathe. And your life, even in its ordinary rhythms, becomes a place where the Spirit of God dwells. If you've been waiting for a grand sign before you move forward, maybe this is it. Maybe the whisper of faith has been growing in you all along. You don't need the full picture. You just need to say yes to the next inch of light. And when fear creeps in, and it will, remember that God's peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from presence, His presence. And it's not weak, it's not flaky, it's fierce, protective, steady. So no matter what today holds, hold on to this. You can still walk forward, slowly, yes, gently, maybe, but faithfully. The courage to take one unseen step at a time is not small, it's sacred. It means your faith is alive. It means your heart is still listening, and that means more than you know. Because God doesn't need you to know every detail. He just needs your yes. And from that yes, He builds a life of grace, beauty, strength, and meaning. So start where you are, not where you think you should be, not where others say you need to be, but here, now, in this quiet place between clarity and chaos. Because walking by faith isn't a strategy, it's a surrender, and God can do so much with that. When the path disappears, look for the presence. There's a moment most people don't talk about. The moment when all your plans dissolve like mist and you're left with nothing but silence. Not a yes, not a no. Just a hollow space between what you thought life would be and what it has become. It's in that space that many people assume something's gone wrong, that they've missed it, that God is far. But the truth is, that space isn't empty, it's sacred. Because sometimes when the path disappears, the presence of God becomes clearer than ever. We assume clarity is the blessing, but often the blessing is knowing that you are not alone when clarity fades. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. That verse doesn't come with qualifiers. It doesn't say God draws near only when we're strong, only when we're certain, or only when we feel brave. It says He is close when our hearts are breaking, when our spirits are crushed. And maybe that's why life feels upside down in those seasons, because we were taught to associate God's presence with progress, with answered prayers, with open doors. But God doesn't retreat when plans fall apart. He steps closer, quietly, without announcement, in ways that don't always feel like miracles, but are. The pain of not knowing can be loud. It shouts for resolution. But if you listen closely beneath the ache, you might sense something softer holding you together, something unseen, something deeper than comfort. That something is the presence of God. Not a feeling, not a flash of light, but a faithful nearness that never depends on your circumstances. You may feel like you're buried under disappointment. But as Christine Kane once said, sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but you've actually been planted. That's the paradox of faith. The same place that feels like an ending could be the beginning of something you can't yet see. Growth doesn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like waiting. And if you're waiting right now, waiting for the job, the diagnosis, the healing, the breakthrough, I want you to know this: God is still working. Even when you can't trace His hand, He's shaping your heart. You don't need to feel Him to be held by Him. Even when we are faithless, He remains faithful. That kind of faithfulness doesn't rely on your ability to stay strong. It depends only on who He is. We often ask, where is God in all this? But maybe a better question is, where is your soul leaning? Because your focus will always shape your reality. When you fix your attention only on what's missing, you can miss what's already present. And what's present, even now, is grace. Quiet, sustaining, unshakable grace. The seasons of silence are not punishment. They are preparation. They teach you how to listen differently. They stretch your trust beyond what's comfortable. And they lead you to the kind of maturity that can't be built in noise. They remind you that presence is more precious than answers. You don't need every detail of the path to move forward. You need to trust that God is not just the destination, He is also the way. He walks with you in every unknown. He sits with you when you cry out for direction and hear nothing in return. And that sitting, that staying, it's not wasted. It is worship. It's hard though. It's hard to keep believing when the door stays closed, hard to trust when the timeline keeps stretching, hard to stay soft when disappointment builds. But those are the moments when your roots go deep, and those roots, they're what holds you when the storms come. So if you feel hidden right now, maybe you're not forgotten. Maybe you're being held in a place where healing happens, where deeper things are being formed in the soil of your soul. Not for show, not for applause, but for strength. Scripture doesn't promise easy roads. It promises a faithful guide. It promises that nothing can separate you from the love that holds you. Not the silence, not the waiting, not the uncertainty. His love is not seasonal. His presence is not situational. And when the path seems invisible, that's not a sign you've lost your way. It's an invitation to walk closer to the one who never leaves. You don't need sight to follow Him. You just need surrender. There's something powerful about choosing to believe that you are not abandoned. It shifts your spirit. It clears space for peace. It takes your hands off the wheel and puts your trust back where it belongs, not in a plan, but in a person. So today, stop measuring God's nearness by what is visible. Start measuring it by what's unshakable, His character, His promises, His unrelenting faithfulness. These are the things that hold you when nothing else makes sense. Remember the verse that says, "Be still and know that I am God." It doesn't say, "Be still and feel God," or "Be still and figure out God." It says, "Know deeply, quietly, beyond emotion, beyond intellect. Just know." That kind of knowing comes from the middle of the storm, not the edge of it. It's not about pretending everything's okay. It's about trusting that you're not alone in the not okay. God doesn't need you to fake strength. He's not impressed by perfection. He meets you in your mess, sits in your confusion, and waits with you through the questions. And while you wait, something beautiful happens. You begin to hear again, not always in words, sometimes just in peace. In the whisper that says, "I'm here, keep walking." That's what you hold on to. If you need something practical to carry you through these silent seasons, try this. Each morning, take 5 quiet minutes. No noise, no pressure. Just say one sentence. "Even here, I know you are with me." Then breathe that sentence into your thoughts when the day gets heavy, when the questions flood in, when you feel forgotten because you're not. You've never been. The enemy wants you to believe that silence means abandonment. But heaven knows better. Heaven knows that silence is sometimes how faith is strengthened, not weakened. That in the quiet, the deepest prayers are formed, not in sound, but in surrender. Don't despise the quiet path. It's the path where character grows, where faith stretches, where intimacy with God deepens. The people who know God most closely often walked through long seasons of not seeing Him clearly, but they kept walking. And that's what changed everything. This isn't about achieving spiritual greatness. This is about learning how to stay, how to trust, how to hold on even when your hands are tired, because faith is not just what you say when you believe, it's what you do when you don't see. The silence, it's not empty. It's full of God's presence, still, steady, sovereign. Let that truth reshape how you walk. Let it soften how you pray. Let it slow your pace and steady your heart. Because when the path disappears, that's when His presence is doing its deepest work. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to push through pretending. Just stay near, stay honest, stay open, and God, He'll stay with you. The middle is where most faith is built. Beginnings feel exciting. Endings bring relief. But the middle? That's where things get complicated. It's where clarity fades and doubts rise, where prayers haven't yet been answered and the promises still feel far away. Most people don't like the middle. It's messy. It's uncertain. It tests what we really believe, not when the blessing comes, but while we wait for it. If you're in that place right now, you're not doing something wrong. You're doing something sacred. Because faith doesn't grow in the instant, it grows in the in-between. There's something about the middle that reveals who we are and what we trust. We want miracles on demand, but God often gives transformation through process. And that process is slow, often invisible, and almost always uncomfortable. That doesn't mean it's meaningless. Scripture reminds us, the longer the wait, the deeper the roots. What God is building in you will last. That kind of perspective isn't easy to hold when life feels like it's paused, but deep things are rarely built quickly. You don't see roots grow, but they hold everything up. And maybe that's exactly what this season is for, not to show the world your fruit, but to let God build your roots. Roots that can endure the winds, roots that draw water from deeper places, roots that don't collapse when storms come. But it's not just about being strong. It's about being grounded, being honest, being formed by the God who sees what others don't. He has made everything beautiful in its time, not in your time, in His. And His timing is not just strategic, it's merciful. Because sometimes the delay protects you, sometimes it prepares you, sometimes it pulls out what would have poisoned the blessing later, and yet it's okay to feel restless in the waiting. It's okay to long for progress. That longing doesn't disqualify your faith, it deepens it. Because real faith doesn't silence your questions, it brings them to God with open hands. In this middle space, you might feel like your prayers are echoing into a quiet sky, but they're not lost. Not one word has gone unnoticed, not one tear has been wasted. God collects it all, not to remind you of your struggle, but to redeem it. And while you wait, you're not inactive. You're being refined, not in front of the crowd, not with fanfare, but in secret, in silence, in surrender. There's a reason why God doesn't rush this part, because He's not just preparing what's ahead, He's preparing you for it. And that matters more than you know. You see, if God gave you the breakthrough before you were ready, it might break you. But when He strengthens you first, the breakthrough can bless not just you, but others too. That's why the middle isn't wasted. It's sacred. Christine Kane once wrote, "Delay is not denial, it's development." If you've ever baked something, you know that pulling it out of the oven too soon ruins it. It may look fine on the surface, but inside it's not ready. You need time. Not because you're failing, but because formation is happening. So if your season feels long, don't give up. Let God finish the work He started. Let Him shape your heart before He opens the door. Let Him deepen your love before He expands your reach. That doesn't mean you stay passive. It means you stay faithful. You keep showing up to the quiet work. You keep returning to the place of prayer. You keep tending the small things no one sees. And when it gets boring or repetitive, remind yourself that the middle isn't supposed to impress. It's supposed to prepare. The deepest parts of your calling are forged in obscurity, not in the spotlight, not in applause. The middle might feel like a wilderness, but the wilderness is where God has always done His most intimate work. It's where He spoke to Moses, where He fed Elijah, where He tested Jesus. And if He's leading you there, He will sustain you there too. So don't try to escape the middle. Embrace what it's forming in you. Let it strip away the noise, the pride, the rush. Let it teach you to walk slowly, listen deeply, and trust fully. This isn't about getting everything right. It's about staying rooted, staying honest, staying available. There's a verse that says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That proper time might not be on your schedule, but it's always right. And the harvest is not just what you get, it's who you become. So what do you do in the meantime? You keep cultivating the soil. You water your spirit with truth. You pull out the weeds of bitterness, jealousy, and fear. You make space for grace. And grace shows up in the simplest ways, in your ability to forgive again, in your choice to be kind when no one notices, in your decision to speak gently when frustration rises. That's growth. That's faith in motion. You might not see the full picture yet, but you're painting a masterpiece with every small yes. Every quiet surrender, every act of love. Don't minimize the value of that. If you need something practical to anchor your heart in this middle season, try this. At the start of each week, write down one way you think God might be working in you, not just for you. Pay attention to what's being stretched, softened, or transformed. It'll remind you that even when the outcome is unclear, the process is alive. And that process is beautiful. Not because it's easy, but because it's making you more like Christ. Not polished, but real. Not perfect, but faithful. You weren't called to sprint. You were called to endure. And endurance is built one step at a time, one quiet day after another, one prayer whispered in the dark when no one else is around. You are being strengthened for of what's ahead. Not just in ability, but in character. And that's the kind of strength that carries others, that heals families, that changes lives. Don't lose sight of that just because today feels ordinary. The holy often hides in what we call routine. So when you feel tired of waiting, remember that God doesn't waste time. He uses it. Every moment, every delay, every silent day is wrapped in intention. You're not stuck. You're being prepared. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. You're not late. You're on holy time. Let those truths guide your next breath. Let them soften your doubts. Let them fill your silence with peace. You don't need a breakthrough to believe God is working. You just need to trust that He is. And He is. Always. Even in this. Especially in this. Fear fogs vision, but faith clears the heart. Fear rarely knocks. It storms in, unexpected, uninvited, and far too convincing. It doesn't ask if it can sit down next to your plans or your peace. It just arrives. And before long, the once clear road ahead starts to blur. What looked possible yesterday now feels impossible. Not because the path has changed, but because fear has fogged your vision. That's what fear does. It doesn't need to change your circumstances to defeat you. It only needs to convince you that the worst is inevitable, that the unknown is unsafe, that what you're walking into will break you, not bless you. But faith speaks a different language. It doesn't erase the fog, but it lights a flame within you that guides your next step. The world often associates faith with feelings of strength or certainty. But faith isn't loud confidence, it's quiet resolve. Sometimes it's not even a bold step, it's a trembling one. But even the smallest movement toward God counts. Courage doesn't always roar. As Marianne Radmacher once wrote, sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, "I will try again tomorrow." That kind of faith is born in moments when fear feels overwhelming, not absent, not defeated, just louder than you want it to be. But even then, faith doesn't disappear. It waits for you to reach toward it. Sometimes all it takes is one whispered prayer. "Lord, I'm afraid, but I'm still choosing you." Fear often thrives in silence. The kind of silence where your imagination starts writing painful outcomes before God has spoken a word. And that silence convinces you to pause your progress, to play it safe, to retreat back into what's familiar instead of stepping into what's possible. But what if your breakthrough is on the other side of that fear? Perfect love casts out fear. Those words don't promise that you'll never feel afraid again. They remind you that when God's love is fully trusted, fear loses its grip. Love doesn't chase fear away by shouting louder. It quiets the soul until fear no longer feels like the most convincing voice in the room. There's nothing wrong with feeling fear. It's a human response. But faith becomes real when you no longer let fear make your decisions for you. That's where freedom begins. Not in the absence of fear, but in the refusal to be governed by it. Fear says, "What if it doesn't work?" Faith whispers, "But what if God is already there?" Fear says, "You're not ready." Faith reminds you, God has already gone before you. When your heart is clouded by all the unknowns, you don't need to figure everything out. You need to remember who walks with you. The unknown doesn't scare him. He doesn't need guarantees to move. He is the guarantee. And if he called you, He will carry you. That's what faith clears, not just your emotions, but your perspective. It shifts your focus from survival to surrender. It doesn't promise easy answers, but it brings a deeper confidence, not in the plan, but in the presence that never leaves. Sometimes you'll walk into situations where every part of you wants to turn around. Fear will point out every risk, every possible loss, every past mistake that it says disqualifies you from this moment. But faith isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward despite fear. It's easy to wait for courage to feel natural, to wait for a clear sign that you won't fall. But walking with God has always been about trust first, feeling second. If you wait until you're completely confident, you'll miss the very path God prepared for your growth. You don't have to catch up to anyone. You just have to keep walking with God. That simple truth can save your heart from 1,000 comparisons and 1,000,000 doubts. You don't need to match someone else's speed. You don't need to achieve someone else's dream. You just need to walk in step with the one who knows your beginning, your middle, and your end. So when fear fogs up your heart, here's what you can do. Pause. Not to analyze everything, but to remember who God has already been to you, not just in the big moments, but in the quiet ones, the unexpected provisions, the unseen rescues, the gentle convictions that steered you away from harm, the peace that came when you had no reason to feel peace at all. Faith isn't denial. It sees fear clearly and still chooses to move. Because faith knows something fear forgets, that God never abandons those He calls. If you're facing a decision, a new chapter, or a hard conversation and fear is shouting, step gently into it anyway, not recklessly, but faithfully. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is take one honest step forward, not knowing the outcome, but knowing the one who holds it. There's freedom in letting go of the need to control everything, in admitting, God, I don't know what's next, but I'm trusting you with it. That's not weakness, that's worship. And the beautiful thing, every time you do that, every time you choose trust over fear, you strengthen your faith muscle. You reinforce the truth that your God is bigger than your unknowns. If you're looking for a way to make that shift in a practical, heartfelt way, here's one small habit. Each morning, declare one fear out loud. Name it without shame. Then speak this truth over it. And still, I will walk with God today. Let that be your starting point. Let it reframe the way you step into the hours ahead. This kind of faith is not performative. It doesn't need to prove itself. It's quiet, but steady. It's soft, but strong. And it's in you, even now. Don't underestimate the power of continuing, of simply not quitting. The world may not celebrate it, but heaven does. God sees your quiet perseverance. He honors your hidden tears. He walks beside you even when fear makes him feel far. His promise remains. He will never leave you, not in joy, not in panic, not in fear. So the next time the road ahead feels blurry, don't rush to clear it up. Let faith refocus your heart first. Not on the outcome, but on the one who is steady in every storm. The clarity you're craving might not be the kind that comes from seeing, it might be the kind that comes from surrender. And in that surrender, fear starts to lose its shape. Because when God is your focus, fear loses its power. When God is your strength, fear can't steal your joy. When God is your guide, you don't need perfect conditions to move. You just need faith. Let that truth carry you today. Your faith walk is changing more than you know. You've been walking in the dark longer than you expected. You've prayed, you've stayed, and maybe you've cried in secret places no one else will ever know. It might feel like nothing is happening, like your quiet obedience isn't doing much, like your waiting is wasted. But the truth is, your faith walk, your journey of trust in what you can't see, is changing more than you realize. We often search for external proof that we're making progress. We want signs, results, visible impact. But the deepest transformations happen beneath the surface. And just because you can't measure your growth doesn't mean it's not happening. God works in layers, soul layers, and those don't rush for anyone. Every step you've taken in faith has been shaping the way you carry hope. Not just hope for yourself, but hope that others will need too. Every quiet yes has taught your spirit how to trust deeper, love fuller, and surrender quicker. You may not notice it day to day, but your soul is being strengthened. Sometimes we think walking by faith means moving mountains, but most days it looks like making coffee, folding laundry, answering emails, showing up to work or prayer even when your heart feels dry. Faith is forged in the ordinary, the unnoticed, the unimpressive. And that kind of faith, it changes everything. Christine Kane once wrote, "You were saved not just from something, but for something." That "for" is what your walk is preparing you for, and you're being equipped in ways that don't announce themselves. Your capacity to carry peace in the storm is increasing. Your ability to listen when others vent is softening. Your willingness to forgive without applause is deepening. All of that matters, and it's all being written into the story God is telling through your life. We forget sometimes that our walk with God isn't just personal, it's generational. The choices you make now, the faith you hold on to now, will shape others down the line. Maybe your children, maybe your friends, maybe strangers who watch from afar and find strength in the way you refuse to give up. You may feel unseen, but your faith is never invisible to heaven. The righteous fall 7 times and rise again. Rising again is the language of endurance. Not once, not twice, but again. That rhythm becomes the song your life sings, quiet, unwavering trust. And that trust spills into everything. It colors the way you speak to people, the way you choose to hope when cynicism would be easier, the way you keep your heart open even after disappointment. That's the evidence of a life shaped by walking with God. It's easy to underestimate the impact of your walk because it doesn't look like fireworks, but God doesn't measure power the way the world does. Heaven rejoices over one soul that stays, one heart that yields, one believer who chooses trust over control again and again. If you're still walking, even if you're limping, you're growing. Every prayer you've whispered, every tear you've offered up, every time you refuse to quit, it all counts, it all matters. Faith doesn't just change your future, it changes your present posture. It softens your reactions. It quiets your need to be in charge. It teaches you how to move without always knowing where the next step lands. That kind of trust doesn't develop overnight, but over time, it becomes unshakable. Every morning you wake up is a sign that your mission isn't over. That's not just poetic encouragement, it's truth. The breath in your lungs right now is proof that God's not finished writing your story. And He's not looking for perfection, He's looking for presence, your willingness to stay close. If today feels like another step in a long road with no view of the finish line, take heart. You're not walking in circles. You're being shaped, refined, and drawn deeper into God's heart. And yes, sometimes that shaping is quiet. Sometimes it doesn't come with affirmation or external reward, but it builds something inside you that lasts. A kind of strength that isn't shaken by failure, a kind of peace that holds even when plans fall through. If you're wondering whether it's all worth it, whether any of this obedience actually matters, hear this. It does. More than you can see. More than you'll probably ever fully know in this life. Your life of faith is echoing into eternity. You may be asking, but what about the promise? What about the dream God gave me? What about the change I was hoping for? And maybe those questions linger unanswered, but maybe that's the point. Faith is the answer that walks with the question, not to erase it, but to carry it with peace. So if the road ahead disappears, don't stop walking. Walk by faith, because what you can't see might be the very place God is leading you to become who you were always meant to be. That's not just sentiment, it's your reality. You're not just heading toward a destination. You're becoming someone on the way. You're becoming someone who knows God's voice, even in the quiet. You're becoming someone who trusts, even in uncertainty. You're becoming someone who hopes, even after heartbreak. That becoming, it's the real reward. Faith isn't something you arrive at, it's something you live. And the more you live it, the more it lives in you, quietly, steadily, unshakably. Let that encourage you today. Let it breathe peace into your wondering and strength into your spirit. You haven't failed just because the view hasn't changed. You're still moving, still becoming, still being held. And the God who started this good work in you, He's faithful to finish it. So if no one's told you today, let me be the one to say it. You're doing better than you think. You're not lost just because the map went quiet. You're not failing just because you can't feel the momentum. Your walk of faith is not small. It's not weak. It's not invisible. It is transforming you from the inside out. Keep walking. Even without clarity, even when you don't feel strong, even when the outcome isn't certain, because God sees it all. And the ground you're covering in trust today will become the foundation of grace you'll stand on tomorrow. You are walking by faith, and that's more powerful than you know.